Well, this is the kind of stuff you hate to report when our legendary rock stars leave us. And it's probably arguable whether Paul Di'Anno is a legendary rock star, but an important rock star vocalist, to say the least. He leaves us today at the age of 66 years old, born May 17th, 1958 in Chingford, London, England. Passed away October 21st, today, 2024, at the age of 66 in Salisbury, England. Of course, Paul Di'Anno, the lead vocalist for Iron Maiden, the original lineup, right? Of course, appears on these two legendary albums. That's why I think Paul Di'Anno will always be seen as a legendary singer, legendary frontman, because of the groundbreaking work on both of these new wave of British heavy metal classic albums. Of course, after Killers, right? Band felt they needed someone with a little more, maybe more versatile voice who was ready and willing to be on the road constantly. Maybe Paul wasn't that guy. Of course, Bruce Dickinson from Samson came in, and the rest is history. But, it will forever be looked at as these two albums, and specifically, Paul's excellent vocals, which fit these songs to a T. And regardless of the fact that throughout much of the rest of his career, he kind of toiled in anonymity and not a lot of success, whether it be the Di'Anno Band or Battle Zone, Gog Magog, and briefly with Praying Mantis, right? And various different solo projects and appearances and things like that. That kind of gritty, somewhat punky voice will always be remembered for these two albums. And, he's at very recent times, he's had all sorts of physical problems. He's had addiction issues in more recent times, right? He's had multiple surgeries on his legs and knees. He's been fairly active on the live touring circuit over the last year or two, but he's had to perform all the shows in a wheelchair, right? But he's still out there trying to sing and do his best, and got to give the guy credit for that. But and as of yet, there's been no report to the cause of death. I'm sure we'll find in the coming days. But yeah, 66 that's pretty damn young. I know he's probably had a lot of mileage on his body, but still, it's pretty young. But yeah, let's go back. So of course, into the late 70s, into the 80s. Of course, 1980, we've got the classic debut from Iron Maiden. His vocals are just as iconic as the arrangements of the songs on these albums, right? That snarling kind of delivery, right? Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, right? That's such a great song. Kind of spooky, so good. Running Free, right? The heart-charging stuff. Phantom of the Opera, his vocal lines following those great guitars, right? Transylvania, Strange World, Sanctuary, him singing Charlotte the Harlot, of course, Iron Maiden, the namesake song. As many times as Maiden has played it in the decades to follow, when you think of Iron Maiden, as much as I've heard Bruce sing it a million times, I always hear Di'Anno's vocals, right? And then on to Killers. You've got Wrathchild, Murders in the Rue Morgue, right? Just Paul just kind of snarling along with the rest of the arrangement. So good. Innocent Exile, title track Killers, Twilight Zone, Prodigal Son, Purgatory, Drifter. And what's really cool is even like some of the mellower, kind of more somber tracks, he shines just as well as on the more fast-paced, heavy stuff. And, that kind of like gritty, punky vibe that he gives these songs, that kind of went away after he left the band. You could argue, I've talked to many people who will still to this day see these as the two greatest Iron Maiden albums. Many people say the start of what we know as Maiden happened on Number of the Beast, but, the blueprint for everything they ever did is right here. And such an important two albums in metal history. And Paul Di'Anno was part of that. And I can't say that I'm well versed on any of the Di'Anno stuff that he did after Maiden. I've heard some of the Di'Anno stuff. It's a little more commercial, right? I've heard some of the Battle Zone stuff, specifically the first album or two. Specifically that first album. That's pretty good for what it is, right? But I just think that he just was forever trying to find his place in heavy music from day one leaving this band, and never quite happened, although still well respected. And yeah, I know we've talked about it lots of times, but wouldn't it have been cool to hear him sing a vocal or two on a Maiden album, just as a way to say, hey, Paul, we haven't forgotten about you. You know, why don't you come guest and sing with Bruce, and we're going to do like a duet type of thing. Now it's too late. That should have happened. And I know Maiden did the right thing by helping him out with some surgeries and things, and that was cool, but it would have been nice to somehow close the circle and get Paul to do something on a Maiden album before he left us, or, you know, before he couldn't sing anymore. And some have argued that he had a lot of problems singing in more recent times anyway, but it would have been nice to hear it at least one more time. Because I think for so many people, you know, the Paul Di'Anno they know is on these two albums, and he's got all this other stuff that really had just never really caught the public's attention, which is kind of sad. But yeah, but like I said, he will be forever known as the original vocalist for Iron Maiden on these two seminal classic albums, and to that we owe him a lot, to be able to participate in what was this groundbreaking stuff from this new and exciting band as we started the 1980s, right? So yeah, so Paul Di'Anno, may he rest in peace, leaves us today, October 21st, 2024, at the age of 66 years old. Go out and crank these two albums today, people, because I think he deserves that from us. And if you're someone who's into all the other stuff too, pull out those Battlezone records, the Di'Anno stuff, and let's just celebrate the life of a legendary singer in the annals of heavy metal history. I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.